welcome to this week's Mondays with Madison. For this week's interview, we have another very special guest, Ryan Bujcevski.
What's up, guys?
And I'm super excited to dive into his life in Australia and talk about football and stuff beyond, so stay tuned. Alright, Ryan, before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So, my name's Ryan Bujcevski. I'm from Sydney, Australia. I've been in America now for 3 years. I'm a senior now, actually. This is my fourth year at Texas, and I'm the punter for the University of Texas.
Love it. And like you said, being from Australia, how was the transition moving from Australia to the United States?
Yeah, it's good. It's tough when you first originally come.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously a culture change with food, with people, personalities,
mm-hmm.
words, sayings. Everything's completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But after your first year or so of living in the country, you start to appreciate more of the differences between two countries and what you're used to from what you grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been really cool. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and get to appreciate the different cultures a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Until you were 17, you actually played Australian football, which is a little bit more like rugby compared to American football. And you didn't learn American football until a little bit later in life. So how do the two styles of football differ, and what would you say is the big difference?
Yeah. I played Australian football, obviously, and that's kind of like rugby. It's got elements of rugby. It's got elements of soccer. We play on an oval field, with a little bit like an American football. There's a lot more tackling and hands-on stuff. So learning how to punt was difficult at times because we don't really kick that style in Australian football.
Mm-hmm.
But once you get used to it a little bit and you do it repetitively, it gets a lot easier.
Yeah, you get acclimated to the different style.
Yeah,
probably.
exactly.
And then, did you ever consider playing another position, even though with your history of Australian football, using your feet more, punter made the most sense, but did you consider another position?
No, not really. I've had conversations about what I would do if I lived here and if I grew up here, what I'd play, but I didn't grow up with it, so I don't think I'd be able to kick up, possibly, but I wouldn't
Punter's
think
for
about
you.
it. Exactly.
That's your position.
I don't know if quarterback or any of those would suit me right now, but yeah, I'd stick to punting.
Nice. And now transitioning to your time at Texas, you have played in all 14 games as a freshman when you first came in here. So what was it like to be the newbie and being starting and punting in every game?
It was tough at times, being a freshman coming in, playing my first game against Maryland. It was my first time ever playing American football. So that was just learning how, like, the routine of game day and how the actual sport works. And I'd only ever repped punting at practice, so actually going out there was completely different. Right, so it was fun. I had a lot of punts my first game. Being a freshman, there were times where I played well, times where I didn't play so well, but I enjoyed it as a whole. It was really fun.
Yeah, fun to get used to for sure, coming in here and having that first game, I bet, was very exhilarating and everything. So what has been your favorite game at Texas so far out of your 3 years that you played?
Favorite game? OU my freshman year with Cam's field goal.
It's a great one.
Yeah, his game-winning field goal was very fun. The Sugar Bowl was also up there. We were ranked not as high as Georgia at the time, and we ended up winning in a pretty good fashion. So that was also really cool. It was our first big win. Got the confetti falling, and it was an awesome experience.
Yeah, that was a great game to watch too.
Yeah.
Do you have any goals for your last season, whether that be for the team or any personal goals for yourself?
Yeah, I always set out goals at the start of every year for myself, for punting, an average I want to accomplish. For the team, I try and do my part. I can't control a huge part of the game, but I hope we win as many games as possible, obviously. That's the goal every year. But I'd like to have around a 47-yard average. That would be my personal goal. And obviously continue working hard at school, staying on top of my degree, building better relationships with my family and trying to contact them on a weekly basis back home. and build stronger connections on the team as well. So.
Mm-hmm. Like you said about that average, you have increased your average every single year that you've been here. With this year against Oklahoma State, you had 9 punts for a 47.1-yard average. So what goes into training to increase your average like that? And like you said, being such a different position than everyone else, what goes into your training?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference with specialists, whether that's punting, snapping, or kicking, is the mental side of the game. There's still a huge part that other positions need to do for that also, but when you have one play in a game and you go in and you need to execute, I think the mental part is the biggest difference of whether you can execute on the field. Mm-hmm. You can train as much as you want physically, which you need to do, but I think recently I've started doing meditation, and that kind of helps with increasing performance on the field.
Mm-hmm.
So
getting your mind right.
Yeah, exactly.
And do you have any goals beyond Texas, whether that's playing professionally or anything like that?
Yeah, I'd love to. First, I want to work on what I can at the moment, fix my knee first of all, and then work on my punting, look at the smaller picture first, and then obviously if I perform well, I want to go into the NFL and have a crack at that. Mm-hmm. And if that doesn't work out, I'd love to live in the US for a little longer. Obviously, I'd find a job or start a business or something, work towards that. Mm-hmm. So that'd be cool.
Awesome. And now jumping into our person behind the athlete, we're going to learn a little more about Ryan off the football field. So your family is very important to you, so tell us about them.
Yeah, so they're all back in Australia. I have 2 sisters, 2 years older and 2 years younger. Mm-hmm. And both my parents live at home still, so I try and work on calling them as often as possible. With a busy schedule, it's hard at times, but I try and check in on them once a week at minimum. And then I have my cousin that lives here, and we hang out. We're like brothers. We grow up together, so I speak to him as much as I can. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm out of state, so I know contacting family is hard even for out of state, but out of country with the time change, that's a lot. So
yeah, for sure.
That's great that you get to talk to them as much as you do. And then traveling, you said, is also very important to you. So what has been the favorite place that you've been in the world?
I liked Hawaii. I've been to Hawaii a couple of times.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
I was
Hawaii's
just there.
Really cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Seattle's also beautiful. They've got really cool mountains. Mm-hmm. So probably those 2 have been up there with my family. I also love Austin.
Yeah.
I'm not from here. I've appreciated what it has, so I also love Austin. Mm-hmm. Those 3.
The culture of Austin, nothing like it.
Exactly.
Well, Ryan, thank you so much for being on this week's Mondays with Madison. I have loved having you. So please like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for new videos every other Monday. So with that being said, see you later, sports fans. I'm here with Ryan Bujcevski. That's how you say it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That was so good.
We did it.
That was so good.